Are you a weekend warrior? Because I know that I am. Hi, and welcome to Catholic Moment. When it comes to physical activity, I've known for a long time that I'm nothing more than a weekend warrior. I get about 1 hour of physical activity a week when I strap on my skates and hit the ice with some friends from work for an hour of pickup hockey after school. Unfortunately, being a weekend warrior, I think the physical results kind of speak for themselves. And if anything, I notice it even more at the end of the summer when I haven't been active for a longer period of time, when not only is it hard to get out on the ice and skate for a whole hour, I have just a difficult time reaching my skates as it is. Now, one thing a lot of us don't realize is that when it comes to our spiritual life, it can be very similar to our physical life, in that if when it comes to our spiritual life, we're no more than a weekend warrior, then our spiritual physique will probably end up looking much like my weekend warrior physical physique. Now, unfortunately, we're at a point in human history where many of us are being forced into isolation with schools shutting down and businesses shutting down to help deal with the current health crisis that's going on in the world. And just as important as it is to remain physically active during these times of forced isolation, it's also very important that we remain spiritually active as well, so that our spiritual lives don't waste away kind of like our physical lives do. So I wanted to share with you a few ideas that I've come across to remain spiritually active during these times of forced isolation and staying at home. And if you're like me, and I think most people around the world, we're being forced to stay at home, whether it's as a forced quarantine, an extended vacation, or working from home. But because we're at home, we have a little bit more downtime and maybe a little bit more flexibility in our schedule. So the first thing I'd like to suggest to maintain your spiritual fitness during this time is to pray the daily Mass. Now, if we're being forced to stay home and diocese after diocese after diocese is canceling Masses, not just on the weekends, but on the weekdays as well, how can we pray the daily Mass? Well, quite simply, the same way that many of you are telecommuting to get your work done working from home, is through the beauty of the internet. And one of the great resources that I've come across in the last couple of weeks when it comes to the daily Mass is dailymass.com, which is filmed at beautiful Loretto Abbey here in Toronto. If that's not for you, if you'd rather watch through the television, the larger Catholic networks, whether it's Salt and Light here in Canada or EWTN in the United States, will have the Mass televised at different times throughout their daily schedule. Even the public broadcaster RTE in Ireland will be showing daily Mass every day. Now, between working from home and the kids running around, if you find even having a half hour to sit down and watch and pray the daily Mass is too much, I would suggest at least then doing the readings of the day. And these are the readings that the Church in its great wisdom gives to us to be read at the Mass each and every day. When it comes to the readings of the day, I like to do it with my morning coffee using the Laudate app, and I'll do the readings, and then there's also always a beautiful reflection that goes along with it. So it's kind of like getting a homily along with the daily readings. Thinking of readings, another way to maintain your spiritual fitness at this time is to attack that stack of spiritual reading that's sitting on your bedside table. If you're like me, and there's probably always a few books that you have on the go, or go back to your bookshelf and pick up that book that you read 3, 4, 7 years ago and rediscover the spiritual wisdom that was in there. outside of the daily Mass and spiritual reading, take the opportunity to deepen your prayer life. Pick up your rosary and pray your rosary every day. And if you're already praying the rosary daily, pick it up again later in the afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet. There's another way to deepen your prayer life. Or another idea is to start a novena to a favorite saint. The final idea I'd like to give you to help maintain your spiritual fitness during this time of forced isolation is to cultivate a sense of silence. God doesn't speak to us in loud winds or earthquakes or a clashing cymbal. But as the prophet found on the side of the mountain, God whispers to us in the gentle breeze. As Cardinal Robert Seurat said in his book, The Power of Silence, if we don't have silence, how can we find God? So I would encourage you to start off with 5 minutes a day, and as you get used to it, lengthening the amount of time that you sit in silence, away from all distractions, away from your phone, away from social media, away from the computer, away from the television, and just sit still and get to know God. And in this time of crisis, in the silence, listen to God whisper to your heart, be not afraid. So I encourage you to take this opportunity of forced isolation to renew your spiritual life, to deepen your spiritual life, to maintain your spiritual fitness. I'm Robert Leblanc, and this has been A Catholic Moment.